Good evening, one and all. Welcome along into Season 3, Episode 135. It's a Victory Polo Tuesday for us all here at the UK Cowboys. How are we all getting on?
Fantastic. I sound a little bit dead in the manner of saying that. What I meant to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, it's nice to have that. Nice to have that victory, that victory Monday. Like Paul a couple of weeks ago, kind of flicking a bit back and forth. Leeds are in the cup tonight, so it's like, yeah, one eye on one and one eye on another. I mean, who says a man can't multitask?
Yeah, we'll not discuss your choice of team, Jamie, and it's a good job that we can't see the badge on your jersey.
RJ's gonna have a word with you. RJ's gonna have a word with you, my man.
We do apologise for Jamie's choice in football teams. You know, at least Cowboys, we know we sorted with that. Graham, how are things?
Much better than they were last week. Feeling 500.
Yeah,
it's nice to see G with. Not that he doesn't normally but it's nice to see him with a bit optimistic with that comment there. Yeah, it's the start of a new season and a new G.
Never underestimate the power of Dak Prescott.
Before we go any further, the really great news after the victory on Sunday night, and Paul is containing himself. The news that broke yesterday. Paul, would you like to say something?
The US travel ban is getting lifted for, well, obviously if you're vaccinated, it's perfectly fine. But the fact is, I'm going to be in Dallas in November. I'm going to be at the Broncos game. So, oh yeah. I am, needless to say, I am absolutely fucking buzzing right now. Oh, anyway.
We could do a whole show around that. We could just run for the hour and a half around Paul's delight.
I was literally doing fucking cartwheels yesterday. I am not joking.
Yeah, to be fair, the message in the admin group was a little bit funny. It was just like, boys, I'm fucking off.
Literally, I literally did not want to believe it at first until I saw BBC News posted it, CNN posted it, and all the other news outlets were saying that the President Biden has now lifted the travel ban for vaccinated UK citizens and EU citizens. So by November, so I'm traveling out on the 3rd of November. I'm gonna be in Denver. I'm gonna be at the Denver Broncos game at AT&T Stadium, and if I can make it to any other game after that, fantastic. I am going full kilt, full blowing shebang. I'm bringing all the butt fast in the world. I am going absolutely tonto when it comes to when I get to Texas.
So would you like to give us the shout out, Paul?
Oh, of course. Guys, if you are planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, be sure to go and contact Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet, tailgating and game day package experience. Because like myself and Jamie, we've used Cowboys Experience before. They treat you like absolute royalty, make you feel comfortable, get to meet some former Dallas Cowboy players, former cheerleaders. And guys, be sure to take this opportunity and use this discount code UK Cowboys, because guys, what happens if you use the discount code?
I'm not saying.
You get free stuff.
And you also get chocolate pudding with that.
So guys, be sure to go to cowboysexperience.com and contact Barry Griffiths. Be sure to go and contact him.
You will not regret it, folks. Absolutely, make sure you do that. So, as we always say, folks, you know, make sure interact with us here on the show. Let us know where you're listening in from. Rika, I think you might be. It's the first time I've come across you, so let us know where you're coming in from. Let us know where you're watching from. Comment, interact with us. Otherwise, we're just idiots.
We know Rika. She works closely with Brandon and Marcus. So shout out to Rika. How you doing? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, brilliant. Drop us your questions, drop us your thoughts. Let us know what you all thought of the victory at the weekend. 2017 victory at SoFi Stadium over the Los Angeles Chargers. We are now 1-1 and joint first in the NFC East. How does that feel?
I just like the fact that Graham's comment to the UK Eagles fans was absolutely top notch.
He's throwing that bad boy away, isn't he?
So, if anyone that doesn't know, in a way, apologies. Well, actually, not really an apology to the UK. But you guys had it coming. You had it coming. Like don't talk the talk before you walk the walk. All right.
No, G, don't you think though? G's getting this this kind of persona about him. I think I've been thinking about this last few weeks. He's like a little silent assassin, and he sits there all nicey on the podcast, and wow, he's waiting there with a comment like that. It's like, who the hell is this guy? Where's he been?
That's the thing. Like during our private chat, like Graham was like, guys, I've got the ultimate gift from it's like, oh god, we knew it was going to be good.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I saw it, I had tears running down my face. It was a picture of someone just like. And if anybody hasn't seen it, head over to the Twitter page and just look for comments where I think it was the back end last week when someone's commented to the Eagles, and then G just dropped a mic on it.
G, would you like to discuss?
Well, so basically, I can rag on my team, but nobody else can. You know, if I see someone take on the Cowboys, I'll defend them to the hill. I can get frustrated with them, but nobody else can. I just Eagles and Irish UK and Irish Eagles just got a little bit wide, shall we say? That they managed to take care of the Falcons, and we ran the Buccaneers, the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, to a 2-minute offense, and they just got a little bit wide. So I thought I'd put them back in their cage for a bit.
Oh, brilliant.
So the moral of the story, folks, don't pee off G.
Oh, just don't chat shit until you can back it up.
Yeah, don't chat shit, get banged.
Yes.
I mean, I think we discussed this amongst ourselves that the 7 of us in the admin group would probably beat the Atlanta Falcons right now, playing both ways.
I think any team, all over 31 teams, could easily beat the Falcons right now, to be honest.
Yeah. But getting into the bones of the show, so bringing up our... So our news and updates. So our injury updates, and the main one concerned Amari Cooper. So he does have a rib injury, and there hasn't been an update on that. He took a pretty big hit towards the end of the game, but it doesn't seem like it will affect him long term. So he should be free to play on Sunday. Apart from that, I don't think we've seen any other injuries from any other sources, have we?
I don't think so. No.
It's not Cowboys related, but the only other weird one I kind of saw. Apparently, Carson Wentz is going to be out this week because he sprained both ankles. How on earth do you sprain both ankles?
It's Carson Wentz.
But it's so strange. It's like the guy just can't get any luck, can he? It's just. But when I read it, I was like, do you know when you have to do a double take? And I was like, what? He sprained both ankles in the game. It's like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, weird one.
Non-Cowboys things there, but sorry, boys.
Yeah. And apart from that, like I know the Cowboys were back late Sunday night, so I think yesterday was just deemed a rest day. There's very little news coming out today so far. I'd say they will be fairly limited in practice, especially with it being a game on Monday night this week. So they're probably on their Sunday schedule right now and building up to playing on Monday night. So hopefully by the time the guys have the show on Thursday night, there will be a bit more news. We'll be able to give you a bit more updates in terms of the injuries and any updates. Hopefully we might have Randy Gregory back from the COVID list and he will be able to slot back in. One point I did want to bring up with you guys, and I know Graham will be happy to hear this one, or slightly unhappy to hear it. Lyle Collins and the 5-game suspension. I think this kind of broke on Friday time. Maybe I'm slightly out, but some of the tests that he missed, and it looks like Goodell has screwed us again. Yeah. So if anyone would like to address it.
It's a fucking. I'm sorry, but it's a fucking joke. It's an absolute fucking joke.
We had a good rant about it, didn't we? Like it's bullshit.
Yeah. Like it's the you know what I mean? It's the reasons like he was offered, like he had to go and see therapy or something like that, or I can't remember the reasons at the top of my head, but they were all legitimate reasons why he would have missed a test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's the thing. What is the matter of rescheduling it? Like, that's what I don't understand. How can the NFL not just say, okay, we may miss you that way, we'll get you tomorrow, type of thing? Like, surely there's been a lack of, I don't know where the lack of communication's been from, if it's been between the NFL and the Cowboys or whoever the doping agency of the NFL it is, it's coming by to see these players. I have no idea. But either way, the suspension as a whole stinks. It absolutely freaking stinks.
Did I read somewhere right as well that one of the missed tests was due to I don't know if it was family or friends, some kind of bereavement, or there was some issue. Somebody wasn't well. Now that's like saying it's bullshit anyway, it's positive, but that's just. I mean, if there's a bereavement or someone's ill, I mean that's just taking the piss. It's like, come on, it's like you want these people to be. Sorry, these people. You want these players and coaches to be kind of put off. Good role models to everybody, but then you're finding them for being a good friend or a good family member. I mean, it's just like I said, Goodell's just a piss taker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Honestly, it goes back to the whole Zeke situation. The amount of the trouble that I know it's different circumstances. It's nothing to do with drug testing. It was all to do with allegations and stuff like that. But even still, even though Zeke was not guilty, he still got hit with the bloody ban, right? And I keep going back to this point. It's like you've got a player like Deshaun Watson right now who has over 30 allegations of the same thing, right? And nothing has been done in regards to fining or suspension towards Deshaun Watson right now. It is an absolute joke. It really is.
Yeah, the league need to be careful with this one because, they handed out the suspension to Zeke simply because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time or the wrong situation. No, like we said before, no police charges were filed, and he was free to go after questioning. I mean, if you run down the list of the missed opportunities, one was because Marcus Paul died. Extremely forgivable. The other one was, as Jay said, he needed to go and get help with the family. I mean, do the league really want to start a precedent where they're fining players because they're grieving or they're having to deal with family issues? Do they really want to go down that road? Because that's not an image the NFL want to portray. So from my understanding is that there's been an appeal lodged. So we'll see what comes of that.
It's ironic that you say that, Graham, because the NFL is all about family entertainment, right? And and the players that are bringing the family entertainment is the players, and if you're taking away their family from, like, interrupting their business in terms of when it comes to their family. It's going to it's going, like you said, it's going to completely ruin the image of the NFL if that's the case. It's a dark road where it's heading.
This is where it jumps around as well, doesn't it? You say like there's from the looks. I know we all had a bit of gripe about it to start with, and we were like, right, what's this? When obviously it's all come to light, it's legitimate reasons, but it's the typical thing again of the NFL of you're guilty till you're proven innocent. So why is like not playing while this suspension, while this appeal goes on, and then if he's found to be done wrong, then you ban him because what is essentially so what they're going to do, they're going to investigate it and go right. So like that way you ban, you've been banned for 6 games. Well, then essentially the whole process of it is a load of bollocks anyway because you do your suspension
It's a joke. Even the actual suspension itself, there's nothing in the actual criteria of a 5-game suspension. It's been completely made up.
I mean, Jay, you're talking. We had a bit of a gripe about it in the group and in the private chat, but none of us even considered that it would be for what he's been cited for. You know, I mean, imagine missing a drugs test because you're grieving for somebody. I mean. Is that not a pathetic excuse to suspend somebody?
It's cold. It's absolute cold.
I think it's shocking. I mean, the NFL have acted way too quickly. And if they don't, at least lower the suspension to maybe another game. If they lower it, fine. I mean, they've set. I mean, I think it's terrible anyway. But at least if they lower it, they've said, right, okay, we've acted rashly. Serve another game and we'll say nothing more about it. But
it shouldn't be banned in the first place.
Well, I guess so.
So I think he missed 3 tests. So the first one, as you said, was Marcus Paul. The second, there was family bereavement. The third, he was in surgery that day. And they popped him for one of the recovery drugs that he was given whilst in surgery.
That's just he's himself in it.
Apparently, he has had 150 drug tests in the past 18 months.
Shit.
And missed those 3, which are all valid. Like
Brian, just to add on to the second one, he specifically got permission from the Cowboys to go. So that's not his fault. I mean, fair enough. If it's random drug testing, fine. But if the team have said to him, "Look, you go and do what you need to do," which is 100% correct.
Yeah.
I mean, that lessens the blame even more.
Yeah, and not just that. If anyone's trying to take responsibility, then the Cowboys should like not to put the blame on the Cowboys here, but if they're given permission to Collins, then they should be dealing directly to say, listen, we're giving our player permission to leave here. It's like if you're going to hit us, just hit us with the fine, not the player.
Yeah.
That you know what I mean? Like
a
fine towards the team is more acceptable than punishing the player. You know what I mean? Like punishing the player for those reasons is just we could talk all night about this besides the game.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to bring up about the surgery, do you not think the doctors would have done specific tests before they put him under anaesthetic or like anything like that? Do you not think there's a list of questions these doctors need to ask?
Yeah.
In case of medical malpractice?
Or even the fact that, like you say, it's somewhat that he's had in his recovery. Would you not then? What's the word? I'm trying to think of the word.
Benny, welcome.
Not compensate. Yeah, compensate for that because he's clearly not taking it to perform. He's had it because he's had a surgery. You know what I mean? It's judge, jury, and executioner is a lot of Pitt fans see the NFL now. They make their own rules. They do what they want. They don't give a shit. They're sucking the life out of the sport sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean,
as we say, the NFL is well known for being the no fun league.
Yeah, I mean, any non-Cowboys fans watching this will think, "Well, there's the Cowboys fans having another go at the commissioner for suspending one of the stars." I think again in this situation we've every right to be a bit pissed off with it because
absolutely.
I mean, there were no charges brought against Zeke. Collins has got a list of excuses that excuse him from missing any more time. I haven't heard a decent case for him actually to keep the suspension. Unless you guys have heard anything. I mean, like you say, Brian, he's been tested more than enough.
He's probably been tested more than Chris Cyborg.
Damn.
Dropping the bombs there, Paul. Another quick point, just moving on from the Loyal Collins, another point I wanted to touch on, it was just came to me there whilst we were talking about the NFL screwing us over. They also, it turns out, the officials in the Tampa Bay game screwed us over. And the NFL has retrospectively fined Levante David for taking his helmet off. But we got screwed again.
But again, that's all very well between the league and David. It doesn't. Yeah. It's no use to us.
It doesn't change the result.
The missed offensive pass interference is no use to us. Like I said on the show, the Saints are still stinging from theirs. You know, their OPI cost them a place in the Super Bowl because if he comes down with that ball, they kick the field goal and they're off to the Super Bowl. So it's all very good, this retrospective action, but it doesn't help the team at the time.
No. Do you know, I get the penalty thing, but I think we touched on it a couple of shows ago, didn't we? That regardless of that, if you give Brady the ball with 2 minutes to go with a couple of points on, he's gonna hurt you every time. I know we missed some kicks and that kind of shit, but still, you can't give Brady that much time. How many times has he done it? And more recently when Aaron Rodgers did it to us in the playoffs a couple of years. He's just I give those kind of quarterbacks the time left with the ball with that. Yeah, give them that much time, but with 10, 14 points behind, but not how many points they were behind. It's but I get what you're saying with that as well. I say that they don't help with that position, but sometimes you've got to. They kind of thingy the play out themselves during the season. So we'll get a few of them come back, won't we? But
I mean, I'm not going to get hung up on it. I mean, it's losing to the Super Bowl champions in week 1 is not going to define our season.
No, absolutely not. If anything, there was a lot more positives than negatives during that game anyway. Regardless, like we could have got the win. Yeah, absolutely. But the way how things were going, like we had an expectation that we were going to get absolutely destroyed in that game. We did. We people were giving us zero chance to make the game interesting. We were up there. We were competing with Brady. That actually was better than Brady in terms of the stats wise. I mean, our O-line, along with playing in the pass protection game, was solid. I mean, defensively, we had takeovers. There was a lot to take positives from this, and we saw that even going towards what we're just about to talk about in this game.
Yeah, and just point out, I'm not slating officials because I think on Sunday we benefited an awful lot from some crappy officials. I think Mike brought up the point here: 20 penalties in the one game. I mean, some of the decisions on Sunday were amazing.
Yeah, I think I have picked up one. There was one, and it was it the one where they called the sack? That was an awful call. That was horrendous.
Yeah, the Micah Parsons sack on Justin Herbert. Yeah,
he got rid of the ball. Yeah. He was nowhere near the ball.
Well, like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Jamie. I'm happy about it. We got but at the same time, I'm like, how the hell did we? How that should never have counted. Like, I kind of feel sorry for the Chargers fans in that one. I have to admit, I do feel a wee bit bad, a wee bit.
Just one thing on that. They were saying that the Cowboys. I don't know if anybody saw it as well. Saying that obviously the Cowboys always travel really well in terms of fans in stadiums, but apparently this game set the record for most Cowboys fans at a road game I read somewhere on Twitter. Apparently, it was absolutely said it was like an away game, but like a home game. But they said, apparently there was the most Cowboy fans at a road game than any other Cowboys game in history.
Yeah, it's the first actual crowd game at the new LA stadium, and California in general is pretty much Cowboys Nation. It really is.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact there was at least within the Baracho tailgaters, nearly every single one of them based on Central and from the East Coast were going over to the West Coast in California just to be at that game. Like you're talking about, I would say 65 to 75% Cowboys fans, if not minimum 65.
I mean, not to go too deep into the issue, but the Raiders left for a reason. The Raiders bounced between Oakland, back to LA, back to Oakland, so on, and then thought, do you know what? There's a better opportunity in Vegas. And then all of a sudden, the Chargers jump in from an established fan base in San Diego to play in a soccer stadium in their first year, so it doesn't even catch on. No wonder there were so many Cowboys there.
This is the one thing that pisses me off about American sports. There's so much of it. Like you say, you grow a fan base, and a team can just up sticks, and they take the Colts, for instance, they just up sticks in the middle of the night and just bugger off. And now the fans have got their team. It's just ludicrous.
Yeah, they can pick up and leave as they come and go, depending on where the money's shown. I mean, you would never see that in our sport of like football, soccer, and that. Like you could never ever franchise a team over here because you can't exactly move Manchester to Liverpool. You know what I mean? Like that's never going to happen. You know what I mean? So
I would hope not.
That's or swap Glasgow Celtic with Glasgow Rangers. That is never going to happen. You know what I mean? So like, you see, but
when Wimbledon move up to Milton Keynes, it's a very rare thing over here, isn't it, that you ever see? And I feel sorry for the fans that it happens to, because they invest so much money over the years and so much love and follow the team around. And you know what I mean? America compared to us is, well, we're just small fish in terms of land size, aren't we? So that they travel some far distances over there. And I just feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I mean, just one more point. Like, remember when way back in the what was it? I'm just trying to remember. When was the Ravens formed? Was it early 2000s?
Something like that. I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, because remember when the Browns were moving franchise and stuff like that, the uproar within the Cleveland community, they started throwing chairs about and stuff like that. Then when the expansion happened, they had to bring Cleveland back into the equation because of that type of fan base. So it just shows. Oh, sorry, Marcus, you see in your comment there. No, this is our post-game show. So now, because we're in the season now, we're now doing post-game shows on a Tuesday and pre-game shows on a Thursday. So we're now doing 2 shows a week now. I think the Ravens were 1996.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for the facts, my friend.
They just up and left overnight. They never even told anybody they were going.
And it was the same with the Houston Oilers. The
Houston Oilers moved to Tennessee.
That was
an expansion. Yeah,
that was an overnight thing as well. That came out of the blue.
No, I think that was planned.
Was it?
That's took for the Browns that year. The Browns had a good team that year as well. Well, for a couple of years.
Bill Belichick was the head coach.
They had a really good team.
Just before we do move on to actually discussing the game, we're half an hour into the show and we've barely discussed it. I do believe there is a vacancy in Leeds for a good football team. But so moving on to the offensive side of the ball, so you'll see the numbers starting to tick through the bottom. So Graham, I'm going to throw it straight over to you. Talk to me about Terrence Steele and how he performed at right tackle on Saturday or Sunday.
I mean, not terrible. Obviously, I'm joking. He played particularly well. Encouraging. I mean, obviously, you're only going to find out how good these guys are when you see them on the field in live action. I think we were all a little bit apprehensive when they decided they were going to keep 70 at right guard and just next man up.
I think it was the right decision.
I agree with the decision because you're keeping Martin in his best position and allows him to do what he does. And he created the hole for Zeke's rushing touchdown, the second touchdown in the game. Right. So I think it was well justified. Can Steele play like that for 4 or 5 of the next games? Only one way to find out. Yeah. I'm a lot more optimistic than I was prior to the start of the game. I suggested that hopefully these guys have come in and pick up where they left off rather than going back to their early 2020 form, because that was not good and nobody needs that at all. But yeah, I think it was it Mike that put up a stat that there was literally no sack from Joey Bosa.
Correct.
One of the sack kings of the NFL. Just bringing up Bosa's stats: 2 tackles and 1 assist.
And it was more or less stopping the run. There was no. I don't think there was even QB pressures.
Yeah,
from Joey Bosa.
No.
So for likes of myself, I think Terrence Steele deserves a big, massive pat in the back for how he handled the game, for definite.
Yeah.
I think the big, like you just mentioned it just there, how is he going to handle it going forward for these next games while Collins is still going to be out pending on this appeal? So, it's promising. I'm the same boat as you. I don't feel as nervous about the right tackle position as much anymore. But obviously, we're still kind of got that wee bit of a question mark because the inexperience and with Steele and stuff like that. Valente, what's happening, my man? Good to see you. But yeah, it's promising. I'm going towards this Eagles game now. Against a more stat defensive line, that's where it's going to be more interesting. But we'll talk about that in the pre-game show.
Yeah,
on Thursday.
We'll leave that till Thursday. But Jamie, having Zach Martin back in the lineup, what did it do for this team?
It just his name alone breeds a lot of confidence. That these guys are going to have to step up and play and play to a high level. I know it wasn't the only one, but I harped on about it. I can't remember if it was the show on Thursday. I think it was that I thought it was a ludicrous request to even ask him to move to left tackle. He's arguably the best guard in the game, so why? Although he would have probably played to a high level, that's but why move the best guard into the game outside his more natural position and hamper essentially your run game and putting him there? Just look at the stats. I know Zeke's weren't off the chart, but oh my god, Tony Pollard had a game on Sunday. I mean, like it's hard to find anybody better than Tony Pollard on Sunday, but. Yeah, don't move the best guy in the league to somewhere else. Put him in and play your run game through Zach Martin. Some of the holes he created on Sunday were ludicrous.
Yeah, it's very true. We have our PFF rankings here. Mike always puts in the information for us there. So Zach Martin had a 95.5 ranking.
Wow.
On PFF, like that is almost unheard of. That's how good a player Zach Martin is.
Well, he was regarded the best guard. Played that whole weekend of football, was he not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm on record, and I think I could speak for the three of you as well when I say Zach Martin's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Easily.
And let's just enjoy him.
Without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a testament to the entire offensive line. 221 passing, but 198 on the ground. I mean, that's wild. I mean, Tony Pollard had 3 less carries than Zeke. That's confidence. I mean, for a long time on the show, I've said, when are we actually going to see Tony Pollard with three stud receivers, 2 maybe not highly, but above average tight ends? When are you actually going to see Tony Pollard? And I think we're starting to see not Zeke take a step back, but I think they realise that it's a 17-game season. They're going to ask Zeke to do an awful lot of pass protection, and if they can not limit, but if they can manage his carries throughout the season, you're hopefully going to get a fresh Zeke going into December and, dare I say it, into January. It's a long season, so if Tony Pollard can show up the way he did for half the games, what a bonus that would be.
You know, it's not as if as well as
it was indeed, Benny. It was indeed.
Zeke didn't even have a bad game. If you look at his stats, Zeke rushed for 71 yards. Now, this early in the season, you can take it because it's only the second game, but they're still getting up to speed. That's not a bad. He averaged 4.4 yards a carry.
4.4 average is decent. It's really good.
I mean, some of them runs were tough runs as well. Like he made a couple of them, made some out and out. A couple of them.
I mean, you could tell Zeke was being more the actual powerhouse running back that we are so used to seeing, like driving right through the middle and actually putting linebackers in their backsides, like just like dipping the shoulder pads down. I find that the dual threat that we've got with Pollard and Zeke now, it just brings that different dimension. And that because Pollard's all about the elusiveness, Zeke's all about the power running back that he is, and it's. I mean, that game there was great. I don't know what much else to say really.
Did it remind you a little bit? I'm not saying it's they're exactly the same, but did it not take you kind of back to the days a little bit like with Marion Barber and Felix Jones, a little bit like that kind of a kind of running back combination?
I can see that. Yeah.
I mean, you only have to look at the second touchdown, a handoff to Zeke, a run behind Zach Martin for the go ahead touchdown. It was like 2016 Cowboys running game all over again. It was, and I put in our group chat. Well done to Kellen Moore for keeping it simple and calling the plays that he know will work.
Yes.
You know, a halfback dive behind Zach Martin was our bread and butter years ago, and it was good to see us get back to that. And obviously, by bringing Pollard into the game more, you're going to keep Zeke fresh for those situations, the first and goal, second and goal type stuff. If he can come in and not have run himself into the ground prior to that, there's every chance he'll just take on the block and score.
I think there's also the extra bit. I think the other thing we need to consider as well is like we don't want a burn out Zeke, and I'm kind of thinking from a contract perspective here. If like so, obviously Zeke's on this big high end contract. Like perfectly fine with me. He deserves his money, without a doubt. But would I want to burn Zeke for 4 years and maybe not get him for an extension? Or would I kind of like still plot him in and have him for a longer duration with the team and still make these big amazing plays? I would rather do that and have another running back to share the load. That's what I would. I would rather have that. More than happy to.
So I just want to make a couple of points here, and I'm going to bring it up because there is a point in the comments, and I'll bring it up. But firstly, please get your comments, and they're starting to come in now, and that's what we want to see. We have had a couple of comments on the defensive side of the ball. We will get to those. We're not ignoring the comments from people. We have the show in a certain pattern that we're going to go through things. And if you want to pull it up there, Paul, so Valenti's comment here, and it was something that I wanted to bring up myself. So this comment was made yesterday, and I was watching Good Morning Football, and they were saying, why are the Cowboys now going with, what are they considering getting rid of Zeke? And I don't think it's a fair comment at all.
That's ridiculous.
We've made the point, it's a 17-game season. Teams the Chargers obviously didn't plan for Tony Pollard on Sunday, and that's why he succeeded.
It's week
And
2.
Pollard wasn't facing loaded boxes, which Zeke is. So it's unfair to say Pollard is a better player. He's not. Pollard, if you need Pollard in there on pass protection, we're screwed. Pollard can't play that game.
Right.
So I'm going to throw it over to you guys. What do you think?
Yeah. Right, I'm going to paint a situation for y'all. So it's 3rd and 7 in the championship game. And just for the benefit of hindsight, I'm going to tell you all that the defense have called a 0 blitz. So there's no safety. Everybody's if you're not picking up a wide receiver, you're blitzing. Who do you want in there? Do you want Zeke Elliott or do you want Tony Pollard? I'll tell you, it's Zeke Elliott every single day of the week and twice on Sundays. Zeke is a 3rd down back, and let's not get carried away with Tony Pollard. It's still Zeke's running game.
And just to add to that as well, G, look at just take it back all the way to college. Zeke played for Ohio State, played in the big games, and Tony Pollard was a backup running back in college. He played a lot on special teams. So there's a vast difference. He's there, like I say, to change it a little bit and just give it a bit of a different direction. Like you say, Zeke's, like Paul said earlier, a bit more of that. For the middle kind of running back at the minute, and he's a bigger build. He's got pace, but he's a bit of a bigger build, so you can trust him going down them. Whereas Pollard needs, if you look at on Sunday, a lot of the time he bounced out either side, and that's where you can get him getting 1-on-1 with a bit of speed and a bit of pace. He's going to burn people to death.
I think for me, the comment to say that Pollard is better than Zeke is one, is disrespectful in a way, and two, it's like I did not actually watching the game in terms of what the situation of what the offense is at and where the opposing defense is at. Like you're like Kellen Moore's making the decision. He thinks Pollard would be more effective and based in this scenario, and we'll have Zeke for more like within the red zone scenario. You know what I mean? So to me, I just don't think it's a fair comment. DJ Dog's in the house. How we doing, my man? What's happening? But yeah, I just think it's a really unfair comment. And like you guys just said there, like Zeke, he was a track and run star for like at high school. He played for Ohio State, won a conference championship, and all that stuff. Where and you just said there, Jamie, Pollard was a backup within his college team as well.
Yeah.
So and played mostly special teams. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pollard has been great. Like great from when we drafted him at the 4th round. And he's been a fundamental part in terms of giving Zeke that extra support to go in and out and share the load and stuff like that. But to even suggest that Pollard is better than Zeke, nah. I'm sorry, no. It's week 2, guys. It's week 2.
Yeah, so just to be fair to Andrew, he did come back in and say, it is week 2.
No, sorry, Andrew. We're not having a go at you. We're not having a go at you. We're having a go at Good Morning Football and all that.
Yeah,
we're not picking at you, Andrew. It's more a case of we're talking the point through and saying, they're a great 1-2 punch, and that's what you need. Yeah. You need a second running back nowadays. But Graham, I'll throw it back over to you.
If I know Good Morning Football, there's a large slice of fantasy element in that.
That's the thing.
Tony Pollard scored more fantasy points than Zeke Elliott, and they've rushed to the conclusion. But if you drop the scenario that I painted for you guys, it's not close. It's Zeke Elliott every single time. But they're again about Good Morning Football. They're looking for clicks and shares and likes a lot of the time. And did you see what they said in Good Morning Football? That kind of stuff. They're trying to increase their viewers, and I understand that. And they have to be a little bit controversial and get rid of the news, if you like, to do that. Fair play to them, but I don't watch it, to be perfectly honest.
It's pure clickbait. And don't get me wrong. We're all guilty. We're all guilty. Actually, going in to these supposed to be professionals shows and stating their professional opinion, where it's just basically a load of nonsense. I mean, we can talk about the idiot Skip Bayless for all we know. He's an absolute hot, you know.
But I do love the comment in here from Jamie in our private comments. He said not to badmouth KG. So who's KG, Jamie?
No, G. You know.
Oh, you're giving out to Graham. All right. So yeah, I think to be honest, my fellow co-host Kay Adams is a great one for stoking debates like that, knowing the direction she wants to bring things. So I'm going to badmouth Kay Adams for you.
Less of that, Brian. We'll be having words soon. We'll be deactivating your Twitter and things so you can't be messaging.
Don't worry. But if we throw it over to our receiving core again, we didn't have to go through a 400-yard game through the air on Sunday. It was very balanced, about 200, 250 both on the ground and through the air. So you know, and I think Andrew made the point that I think Cooper has the most catches through the season. CeeDee Lamb is 5th in terms of number of catches. So is that a better way of playing the game? You know, that we didn't play from behind this week. We played from the front.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, like I think on our opening drive was almost 7 minutes. Simply because we were controlling the ball. I mean, that's exactly how we rocked to the playoffs and Dak and Zeke's first season. We controlled the ball. As soon as the Cowboys got a 14-point lead, the game was over. So if we can control the ball like we did 2016, 2017, and not put it in the air for ball hawking receivers to go and get, that's got to be a better way of managing the game. I mean, we dug out the result. I mean, don't forget the Chargers have got a really good secondary. I mean, Derwin James is back for them. Nasir Adel is a cracking player as well. So
Asante Samuel Jr. had a great game.
He got the interception. We'll get onto that. But yeah, and even on the interception, that it was. I've watched it again in the past hour. It's probably just a ball that sailed on Dak a little bit because it was too short for Cooper, and Samuels jumped on it and got the pick, which is fair enough. But yeah, if the running game can produce, you know, 100, almost 200 yards, why not just stick to it and have a little bit more control, especially away from home.
Not taking any away the receivers. And to be fair, I normally give the Titans a lot of crap on this show. The Titans play pretty well. The stats in terms of receiving don't jump off the board, but in terms of the blocking as well, like they stepped up quite a bit this week.
Yeah, I think to be fair, Andrew was kind of saying it here in terms of, and that's a good point there from DJ Dog in terms of it was a game of two halves, that we played better in week one, but I think in our first quarter this week was the best quarter we've played in a long time. But sorry, this was something I had been thinking of, and I meant to say it earlier. In terms of Tony Pollard and Zeke playing, has anyone noticed Dak hasn't run at all this season? Is this why we're seeing a bit more Tony Pollard in the game?
He did a little bit against Tampa Bay because that's my heart in my mouth every single time. But to your point, the second week, absolutely. If you can keep Dak in his pocket and not have to do that, I'm all for it. Absolutely all for it. I mean, there's no registered rush on the NFL site for Dak, which is fine because you've got running backs producing 180 yards worth of offense. So, I don't see any reason to ask Dak Prescott to rush because, like we saw in the Bucs game, it's frightening because we all remember too well the leg looking in the wrong position. So if we can avoid that, I'm all for it. But I think it was also a testament down to our offensive line. as well.
Yes,
I think, particularly in the first half, both offensive lines controlled the game, and that's effectively why it was so tight. It's won and lost in the trenches, and if Dak doesn't have to run, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. I'd say I think we meant to touch it the way with that first hit. It's like we took a couple of hits, but like you say, if we can spread the ball a little bit like we did in the air on Sunday, and let's say we can get you're getting both running backs touching. Well, one did, but one was not too far away from 100 yards apiece. Like I said, you're not putting your quarterback at risk anymore. You keep him fresh. Let him do what he does, and let him get that ball out wide to the receivers, and let them do the job. I mean, take away as much pressure away from him as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the offense before we move along?
Yeah, the just to stick with the wide receivers, all of a sudden we're getting a little bit injury prone at wide receiver. I mean, obviously we've lost Michael Gallup, and Cooper's now managing a rib injury. I mean, hopefully you remember the Cedric Wilson Duke. He sent that guy for a hot dog. That was some move. You might see Cedric Wilson play a bigger role in this offense if it keeps going the way it goes, because they're going to have to pay attention to Cook, because we've lost. Is it another 3 weeks we're without Michael Gallup?
Yep.
So we might have to lean on that running game a little bit more. But if the running game stays potent and the offensive line managed to bring out another performance again, like they did on Sunday, then should be all right. But yeah, getting a little bit thin at wide receiver.
I've got one thing to add on, is I think Jarwin and Schultz deserve a little bit of credit as well in terms of their blocking assignments as well. They made a much, much better job in this game than they did against Tampa Bay. And they actually did some, Jarwin especially had a nice route down the middle and during the game.
Do you know that out of that whole offensive performance, I don't think there's anything really you could really be nitpicky. Like I say, like Graham said, it was probably a bit of a lofty pass for that interception, so you can let that. It was the play calling at the end for that field goal. There was an opportunity to get a few extra yards. He made it, but why risk it and try and just drive it up the middle and get even 2 or 3 more yards? But even the commentators were like, "What's going on here?" And it was like, we were a little bit overcautious, overconfident that he was going to kick it based on what happened last week. I mean, I think it made a lot of people nervous. Like, I think there was a guy, I can't remember if it was Dave Hellman's retweeted the tweet. There was a guy who paid all that money to go to the game, and he was sat praying in his chair, and it was like, you paid all this money and you can't even watch the thing. He was that nervy.
Yep, there we go. Yep, Schultz did do that.
I can't remember exactly who it was tweeted, but I think he tweeted that they had personnel problems leading up to that, and they didn't want to have it run over, because can you imagine the bad press they would have got if they'd, for instance, say if they hadn't called the time, they hadn't been able to call the timeout. Say the play ran for, I don't know, was the clock running at the time?
Yeah,
the clock ticking down at the time. So if it runs over, say they go down at 6 seconds, the play takes 5, and they don't get the opportunity to call the timeout. Can you imagine the bad press we would have had?
One a lot of time. I think when it got to that, there was about 14-15 seconds on the clock, so they had plenty of time to run one. But it was just like it literally just.
Did I see something that someone stepped in front of the clock, or a cart went in front of the clock, and Kellen Moore couldn't actually see where the clock was to make a call? And I think as you said as well, G, in terms of the personnel package they wanted to go with wasn't ready to go when they wanted to make the play.
I haven't heard that scenario, but I've just
Yeah,
looked
I
it
think
up.
DJ Dog is just saying it is bringing it in here for us that Pollard came out of the game and wasn't supposed to.
Well, yeah,
So,
I just think like the constant media pressure that's on the Cowboys. Zerline kicked it with 4 seconds left. I just think it's a very tight situation to gain, say, take it on average, say a run and play 4 yards. Is it worth the risk as opposed to freeze the clock at 4 seconds? We're not going to lose the game if he doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Just give ourselves a nice clean opportunity to go and win the game, and they did.
Yeah. So DJ Dog there and Andrew has also said it as well that there was an issue with the cart running in front of the clock, and then the display went off on the clock. So we're nearly an hour into the show, so I think it's time we moved on from the offense and headed over to talk about our.
I think you're hitting the video button just a little bit too early there, Brian, because you get cut out when you're saying, didn't even know you were saying defense there. So,
but moving on to the defense, and as we say, guys, comments have been flying in about the defense, and keep the comments coming into us. As we say, it's not about us, guys. It's about what you think. We want to know. We want to know what you think. We want to hear from you. What your thoughts are. So the comments, Jamie is happy. We'll not say anything more about that. But a lot of the comments that came in have been about Jaron Curse having a great game. I know Andrew brought it up. I think Rika brought it up earlier in the commentary. Jaron Curse, anyone like to discuss?
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't need to say anything else, really.
You know what?
Yeah.
Almost had an interception. There was a little bit of cheeky play around it. Almost had an interception. I've seen those not called against us often enough.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
And not to take away from the game he had. Like I say, the defense played well, but I don't think you can go farther than Micah Parsons. Was that the first time since high school he played defensive end and he had himself a game? Showed again why that he was so high on the Cowboys board. He outplayed one of the best defensive ends in the game, and
sorry, Brian. I just need to mention this. A lot of people are talking about Rashawn Slater this, Rashawn Slater that. He wasn't really that great during that game. He missed some crucial blocks during that game.
Yeah.
And look what Parsons did. To me, I think the Cowboys made a solid decision in that investment.
Yeah,
I really do.
Do you know what?
I just want to make one quick point, and I'll throw it over to you then, Jamie. We didn't need Rashawn Slater on Sunday. I think we managed to run the damn ball just fine without him, did we not?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll throw it over to you now, Jamie.
Now there's a comment in the thing. I don't know if it's blinking, and I've seen it, but there's one name actually on there that I forgot. And just to remind everybody, this guy was a second round pick. This guy should have never dropped into the second round pick.
Yeah.
Once again, Diggs showed why he's the best cornerback on this team.
Absolutely.
By a million miles.
Well said.
Yes. Absolutely. Like he made don't get me wrong, the Diggs did make a mistake in one play, but within the next play, I think that was the turnover, was it not?
One of them.
One,
so it was.
Because he left. I can't remember if it was Keenan Allen. He left Keenan Allen wide open, and it was like a wee 2-tap going off field, like it was like 5 yards away from him. Like just completely switched off. I think he was expecting the safety to cover him or something like that. But either way, he rectified his mistake and actually brought one of the picks after it.
Paul,
That's
there's
right.
comment for you.
That is a great comment, dog. I completely forgot about Bradley and I. Holy shit.
How can you forget him? I mean, he's one of your bears, isn't he?
Aye.
He is.
And I'll also have to bring up DeMonte Kazee. How often are we going to see this guy make a play inside the red zone?
Oh my god!
Second week in a row, incredible.
Well,
actual return from the safety position.
I think already we can already say it's like our off-season acquisitions of this year is by far a million times better than what we did last year in terms of our off-season recruitments.
Don't do it to yourself, Paul.
No, I'm just saying. Do
you know what? Like, just quickly looking through the stats, and to be fair, there's a lot of players on that side of the ball that's not just by us on this show, but by a lot of the fans. And some of them stepped up. Jalen Smith, 6 total tackles, 3 assists. Anthony Brown, 5 total tackles. Van Der Esch, 4 and 3 assists. So I think some of them stepped up and made some tackles. And to be fair, and 2 of Van Der Esch's were tackles for loss as well.
Yeah.
And we don't say that a lot to him.
No, just that he got 7 tackles for losses, 1 sack, and I'm just reading the stats in the board below. And same way, Osa Digizua got 2 tackles for loss as well.
Yeah,
and 5 pressures to the quarterback from the interior position, getting 5, putting pressure, forcing Herbert to move outside. That's what we needed.
Yeah. Kamara got him same one as well, and a lot of people
on Hooker.
Yeah, a lot of people slag the Cowboys off for putting Kamara on the roster because he's quite undersized for his position, but fair play to it, lad. Yeah.
So I'm just going to bring back up Andrew's point here, and I have my own thoughts on this in terms of no, you do not keep Micah Parsons at defensive end. You have Randy Gregory, you have D-Law, who are designated pass rushers. You use them in that role. One of the biggest issues, and I made this comment several times whilst the game was on, was 7 to 12 yards. Justin Herbert was picking us off every time we need a man free. That's the position we want Micah Parsons to be in that Mike linebacker role. So for me, that's where his position is going to be long term. Yeah, 1-2 games, no issue with it, but not long term. No.
But just to jump on Andrew's comment again, what it does do though is opens that defensive playbook a lot more because now it can fit in there. You can confuse them a little bit, change the schemes up a little bit, and throw it in there. And I'm sure didn't we used to do that a few times with DeMarcus Ware. He had a few times so
it's pretty much a DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller situation where you play linebacker, but they can slot as a 5-tech defensive end.
So I could see him, but like I say, maybe not playing there full time, but I can see him certainly dropping in there at time to time in games.
It's a true definition of a hybrid player for sure.
Yeah,
but
he's a good football player. Just use him.
In the meantime, though, we have a thinness at defensive end and not an abundance of wealth, but we have several players who can fill in at linebacker. So to move Parsons to defensive end where we don't have D-Law wouldn't be the worst idea, I don't think. I said, I'm going to blow my own trumpet, but I said that prior to the start of the season that Micah Parsons would win Rookie and Defensive Player of the Year.
You did.
He's already, and I also said he would be team sack leader. He's already tied for first, second week into the season, and we've just lost D-Law for 6 to 8 weeks. So there's every chance that you see a huge amount of production from Parsons at defensive end. Because you've got one of Jamie's favourites to come in and fill in for Parsons. You could even, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how the rotation would work, but if Smith and Van Der Esch can keep turning in those performances,
Yes. Yeah.
it allows you to move Parsons further closer to the QB, and that can only be a good thing with his speed. I mean, particularly when we have some questionable offensive lines coming up in the next 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll see.
I think, like Andrew just said there, what if he plays lights out? I still think that the whole point of the Cowboys was drafting was that linebacker core has been awful for the last few years, and it needed someone with a high motor, with high energy that can play. So I think, even if he balls out, I think his predominant position on this roster will be linebacker. But like I say, it opens it up, and I can see him getting a few snaps a game at the end, just to not freshen it up, but to maybe confuse offensive lines a bit more. And like Gita said, got some questionable ones there, so you could take advantage of it, especially with his speed. Drop him in, put his hand in the dirt, and let him get through.
I mean, to paint a picture, you've got. I know we're getting a little bit carried. Or certainly, I'm getting a little bit carried away with Smith and Van Der Esch. Only played 2 games, but take those 2 guys, and then you've got a combination of Cox, Neal with Parsons at defensive end. It's not terrible.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's like it's like one of our worst actual depth positions has now become more of a solid one now. Like that. I mean, that was one of my biggest concerns was our linebacker core, how thin it was last season. And looking at it now, it's like we've got a good rotation of players that can actually fit in and drop in and out and still fit the void if you're Mike, Sam, or Pirate, whatever you want to call it, the type of linebacker you want to call it. But I feel a lot more confident with regards to our linebacker core, even if Parson plays defensive end.
Yeah.
I think with this change of scene under Dan Quinn now, it's actually helping these players kind of like step up again, you know?
Yeah. Paul, I'm gonna keep this question with you, and his name is rolling through the bottom of the screen there. Also, Odigizua and the defensive tackles. How good is it to see a game where the Cowboys have been absolutely gashed on the run?
Finally, we're actually having stop running tackles for losses inside of the O-line. Finally. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still saying this to this day. Neville Gallimore is going to be one of those guys as well. But also Digizua, man, holy crap, man. Like, he is something. He is something. We got ourselves an absolute steal in that draft. We really have.
I think the one thing that impressed me the most, right? Parsons is credited with a sack on Justin Herbert, which we all agree was never a sack. But the other man who was also chasing down Herbert and was closing down almost as quick as Mike Parsons was also Odigizua.
Yeah, and that's him coming off a double team.
Athletic.
I'm pretty sure that play in particular. I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure in that play he was pretty much getting double teamed.
Yeah,
and he managed to create separation quite easily in that scenario. So I mean, again, DJ Dog bringing the fire once again. Urban, Osa, Watkins, they were doing all this. They actually helped the stopping the inside run quite a fair bit. Brian, do you have the average of the running back game for LA?
I don't think we have that.
Austin Eckler had 9 carries.
And what was his average?
Justin Herbert had 4. I mean, he did average 6 yards, but to my knowledge, they abandoned the run. It simply wasn't
pretty
working
much
for them.
No, I I think to be fair, and it is a point I do want to touch on, is that Herbert was having success at those mid-range dump-offs between, as I said, 7, 12, 15 yards. I think he went at one stage 16 passes complete in a row. So that was working for them. And it does throw up a question about this team not having a second cornerback.
I think this is the conversation we're going to talk about Mr. Anthony Brown, is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
So just to touch on the rushes, Bride, that the average per player per carry seems pretty high, but if when you look at it, like I say, they abandoned it. Eckler averaged 6 yards a carry, but he had nine carries for 54 yards. Justin Jackson averaged 5.3, but that was 20 yards on 4 carries. Justin Herbert, 3 yards on 4, averaged 3 yards on 4 carries. Guyton rushed one rush for 9 yards, and Roundtree the third was minus 1 yard. So that they say that the averages are fairly high, but they also had quite high carry numbers. So yeah, they ended up abandoning the run. If you especially look at the receiving yards that some of their players got, 3 players over 50 and 2 over 90.
That's 19 rushing attempts. That's not a balanced offense. Now I get that Herbert was having particular success, but it's not balanced. And I mean that we were talking about the running game. I think that for me they did abandon it because you've Austin Eckler in there. He's easily a first or second round pick in fantasy. And he was not worth playing against the Cowboys. Well, maybe from the passing, maybe from a passing perspective, fine, but didn't find the end zone. But yeah, we're going to talk about the corners. But just on that, I mean, there was one particular play. Herbert threw over Diggs, and again, I can't remember who said it on Twitter, but they basically suggested that Diggs slowed down on the route because quarterbacks do not throw into that kind of situation. He was double covered right on the sideline, and he lasered it in there, and it took Diggs by surprise. And don't underestimate Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. The Chargers have their guy for the next 10 years easily. Yeah, they do.
A couple of guys, just to touch on him. A couple of guys I know from across the pond. I seen a couple of chats they were having, and they were saying just they love the fact that the Niners never took him, and the other year that he went back to college, so the Giants couldn't get him because we don't have to face him. God knows how many years in a row. I mean, because he's got a lovely throw. He's going to be a great quarterback in this league for sure.
Yeah, Herbert. Yeah, for sure.
He will. But as we say, let's have a discussion about our second cornerback and Anthony Brown. And I'm also going to throw in Jordan Lewis in here because these two guys are taking up a nice chunk of the cap, and they're a liability in my eyes.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that sees that, or is that a common consensus?
Brown did have a pass defended in the end zone where it hit him in the back. Now, whether he meant or not to hit him in the back, the coverage was there.
He did look back, to be fair. I'll give him credit on that because you could see he did turn at one stage and just kind of covered. So that was intended.
I mean, in terms of wide receivers, the Chargers are stacked at wide receiver. Keenan Allen, Williams, Eckler had himself a better passing game than he did rushing. Yeah. But to your point, you can see why they tried to address corner in the draft. We've yet to see any fruit from the second and third round selections. Hopefully we will. But yeah, you can see why they tried to adjust it. Like DJ Dog's saying there, Kelvin Joseph, who's currently on IR. Yeah, we need a little bit of help there.
Yeah, I just think there's stopgaps. So the fact, like you say, that Kelvin Joseph comes back, and also Nashon Wright gets his feet firmly under him.
Yeah.
That those two and Diggs will be cornerbacks 1, 2, and 3 for the next however many years. Yeah, I think the Anthony Brown and I think that is over and done with. I think it's just more the fact that these two guys are trying to get up to speed in the league and niggling injuries. Otherwise, they'd be in there. I don't think we'd see. Anybody else?
Is there a case, though? I mean, I'm not necessarily agree, but is there a case, though, that we're being a little bit hard on the corners because our safeties always seem to be in the position to go and make the play? Is it a case where the corners are playing under coverage so that the safeties can be the ball hawk, be the defender? You know, like, are we getting our corners to be in awkward positions so that allows the safeties to go and play? Is there a case for that? Because I mean, we see the impact that Kazid had. Jaron Kearse had a great game.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems. I just want to explore the conversation.
Cornerbacks have always flourished in a Dan Quinn system, haven't they? So I just I get where you're coming from. But I think for me the cornerback position's been awful in terms of productions over the last few years on it. So this might be the kick up its arse it needs, and this is the opportunity. Like I said, everyone's technically on a fresh slate out there because he's a new defensive coordinator. Yeah, I mean, he's going to want to see what he gets, but
I think what my bugbear is more than anything is the amount of separation wide receivers are getting. They're getting 3, 4, and 5 yards of separation from our corners behind. And I don't think Dan Quinn is telling the corners push up and ball hawk. So they shouldn't be allowing the opposing wide receivers to get that much space. And the thing is, in practice, these guys are going against Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb. They should know what to do. All three of those guys are great. They're great route runners, but they can also play and make separation. So these guys should not be giving up the amount of space they do. And that's my issue with them.
No, and this is probably the best way for them to learn. Like you say, that's arguably, the best trio in the NFL in terms of wide receivers. But look at that through Cowboys history. I mean, Michael Irvin was one of the best receivers at the time in the league, and he made his play in practice helped improve the play at cornerback and at safety as well on the team. So you say, so you play with players at that high caliber level, it's going to be, you would imagine that it would help to improve you, but we just sadly haven't seen it from some of these guys.
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to kind of respond to a comment. Valentia, as far as I know, when Gallimore is due to come back, so it was reported on the 14th of August that he was going to be out between 4 and 6 weeks with the dislocated elbow. As far as I know, he's only started resumed late training, so I would imagine at the very best you're talking about maybe like 3 weeks time. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'm not too sure.
I think the plan with him, Paul, is that they're going to use the full 8 games of the IR designation for him.
Yeah.
And just like that, allow him to come back up to speed for the back end of the season.
But in terms of actually like participating in practice and stuff like that, I think it's in a couple of weeks' time.
I think Kelvin Joseph was only IR as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think with the IR you can come off after 5 weeks now, is it, or is it 3 weeks with the new rules under COVID and that kind of thing? So
yeah.
Yeah.
But just to go back to the short game, the short defensive passing game, Austin Eckler, 9 targets, 9 receptions. Now, to me, that suggests, are they willing to let, for that particular game plan, were they willing to let Eckler have the ball where he caught it and then make the play? Because they only, I mean, for the corners getting carved up, for us talking about corners getting carved up, they only managed 17 points. But that's in today's game, that is low. So I just think, was there a certain element of keep the Chargers where we wanted to keep them? Because like I said before, safety's had an astonishing game. Eckler 9 catches for 9 receptions. Did we contain them the way we wanted to contain? I know there was a lot of intermediate stuff, but were we giving them the intermediate stuff and then pursuing the ball?
I think it's a good point, but I think the Chargers are not a high powered offense. The Chargers are not going to put up 35, 40 points a game. And that's kind of what you have to prepare for. It's not teams that are scoring 20, 25 points. It's those teams, look at last night, 36-35 it finished. That's there. If you want to win championships, they're the teams you have to be ready to face. And if we're going to play that short game where they're allowing those 7 to 10 yard gains, we're going to get gassed eventually because they'll just go, right, it's time to just go dink and doink over the top. And we'll face better receivers, and better receivers will beat us. We're all checked out.
Sorry, now it's
just seeing
the news.
I mean, it's not the worst. It's not the worst defensive game I've ever seen. I just think that
no.
we're kind of trying to find the holes in a good defensive performance. That's why I'm not particularly concerned. We saw great play from the safety position. We stuffed the run. The stats say that. Every team's going to find a hole. I just think that Chargers found a hole that wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
For instance, I think that we did enough. We did enough defensively to keep the Chargers at bay. And if you can get to the last play of the game with the ball, not the last drive of the game with the ball, that's a good performance from your defense. You effectively put the offense in a position to go and win the game, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, maybe I'm being overly critical, and we need to realise that this is Dan Quinn's 6th game with this defence. It's a defence which has had 3 coordinators in 3 years. So, they do deserve a bit of credit and have a little bit of slack cut for them.
I don't think you're being overly critical. I mean, I'm trying not to get carried away. What we're effectively doing is saying, how can the defense get better? Because by no means is this a polished, finished defense. This is not a top 5 defense we're talking about. I just think having this conversation, it's like, right, okay, that was good. How can we go and get better in week 3? How can we reduce 17 points to 10 points, for instance? But by no means am I getting carried away. This is not a top 5 defense by any means.
Just to touch on your on Brian's comment about the cornerbacks as well. Just seeing a thing here that Diggs's interception was his 5th since 2020. The next closest player on the roster has 2 in that time frame.
Yeah, I think going on that, I think I saw this prior to Sunday he had 4 interceptions, and in Byron Jones' 5 seasons with the Cowboys he only had 3.
Do not bring up Byron Jones on this podcast. You know what happens. Boys, we're already listen.
Don't poke the bear, Bri. Don't poke the bear.
Seeing Trevon Diggs, we are already looking at Byron Jones 2.0. I'm telling you, because we do not have the 5th-year option with Trevon Diggs. We are going to have to pay Diggs at some point, or we're going to visit our top cornerback walking out the door all over again.
Do you know what though? Just to play devil, I've got there. Do you feel more at this position where they were both warring? Do you feel more confident paying Diggs and saying, "Do you know what? Let's bite the bullet and let's pay him," or would you still rather have paid Byron Jones because where Diggs is at the minute and he's not even through his second season? I'd rather throw the money at Diggs on how he's been playing than how Jones was. I think
the problem is that I don't think teams realise how big of an asset Diggs is. That's why he's being targeted. I mean, you saw. Yeah. I mean, Byron Jones's stats were rotten simply because nobody went anywhere near him. But
that's a good thing, though.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, definitely. But with like Diggs, he's coming up with all these interceptions. It's like, all right, so it turns out Trevon Diggs is actually quite good. You know, that kind of way. And I wouldn't be surprised if Diggs' numbers fell simply because he is a rock. He is quite simply a rock.
I think Diggs is still going to give up the odd. He's going to have the odd brain fart, and he's going to give up a play or two. And teams will still play on him. I think by the end of the season, he will be that lockdown corner that Byron Jones was, and teams will start going, okay, we're not going to get change out of there, or we're going to lose the ball to an interception. So we've got to go the other side.
I mean, it's not too long ago. The Diggs interception that was covering Keenan Allen, and he took 2 incredibly quick steps, undercut the ball, but still had to dive for it and came up with it. I mean, Mike Evans does not give Keenan Allen does not give up an interception easily, and it was almost pinpoint from Herbert. It was just an exceptional play by Diggs. Incredible. Something we've been screaming out for a long time.
It's just the numbers. That number doesn't look right on him. Give him a proper corner.
7. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
So we've gotten to nearly an hour and a half into the show, and we do have lives, but obviously we want to touch on special teams before we get out of here. And anyone who wants to take the comment that Bones Fassel made at the weekend about the rush that resulted in an automatic first down. Anyone take it away? I mean, I'll keep going and allow the guys to gather their thoughts. I mean, for John Bones
what the actual fuck?
Yeah. To come out and say, I want to keep the people entertained, you know, that Dallas is built on taking risks. Come on, you don't run into the punter. What is wrong with you?
I mean, we've got previous. We've got previous for doing wild things at special teams. It's not out of the blue, this. See, you think about it, it's not out of the blue.
We can sit and say that, but we can also then sit there and say, well, do you know what? At least ours wasn't the most calamitous play of the weekend, because if anybody watched the Colts game, at least we don't block our snapper snapping the ball back. That's all I can say. That was horrendous.
I will say this. It's like that shit needs to be drilled in. That should be a fundamental. He's never touched the punter.
Yeah.
Never. But what I will say is Greg the Leg.
There's people too.
I know that, Jamie. I know that. But what I will say is that Greg the Leg has redeemed himself in that game.
Yeah, he has. That was a clutch kick.
It was clutch, very clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a lot easier to go into the kick knowing that if you miss, you haven't cost your team the win. But to go and win the game in that situation was clutch. But to Paul's point, I mean, did you guys pick up on the amount of running into the kicker penalties there were? I mean, see the amount of replays I saw from the weekend of guys flying with their hands up in the air and their shoulders or their helmet are coming down on top of the kicker's shins, and you're thinking, guys, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's highly unlikely you're going to get to the ball, but you just given up a first down.
I think Dogs just made the comment of the night. I think that is absolute spot on.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many times Mike McCarthy has denied his request, shall we say, because obviously he's coming up with these ideas to cause a bit of spark and to turn the game, and I think I would take the under on them coming off by a long shot.
Don't get me wrong. When Bones pulls it off, it's freaking amazing. For example, the Atlanta game, the thing the
watermelon kick.
The watermelon kick, yeah. I mean, but with this stuff, when you're 4th and 20 and you cause that stuff, I mean, that should be common sense. Should play in the factors. Like, don't risk that. Like, man, I don't know. I really don't know. It's like we can do the things when we're actually put ourselves back against the wall and we need to make these special teams moves. I'm all for it. But when we're in a controlled state when we don't need to do that, it's like, come on. Just
do you know a win is a win sometimes can be a funny and a fickle thing, can't it? Because if we were sat here now 0-2, we'd be pulling his hair out, we'd be screaming, we get a win and we're like, do you know what? Yeah, it was shitty, but we can take it because we won.
Let's not forget, the Chargers were 3-point favorites to win that game. So we won a game that we were not expected to win.
Yep, that's right.
So, I mean, I think that's a great place to be on a victory poll on Tuesday.
Listen, a win's a win. A win's a win right now.
Exactly.
Like,
so, go on, Paul.
I was just going to say, a win's a win.
Yeah.
Next week's the big one. This is the one where we need our offense and defense to be spot on. We cannot afford a divisional rival to set the tempo of how the season's going to go ahead. So, I mean, we kind of saw. I mean, we saw. This is going to be a dig at Washington, but for them to post that social media stuff against the Giants was absolutely. Come on, guys! It's week 2. But if that was our social media team, we would get grilled for that. You know what I mean? But this game against the Eagles, we need everyone to really step up and actually put a statement against Philadelphia because they've got their new quarterback. They're trying to rediscover how their franchise is going to go forward. They've got their new star wide out. They've got the two first round wide receivers. They've got Raider and they've got the other guy that they just drafted this year. So we need to make sure that our corners are ready for that.
Yeah.
Keep that quarterback in the pocket.
Yeah.
Lapse it from the middle. Don't let him get outside.
Yeah. This is where I'll talk about it more on Thursday.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, just as always, we love to give a shout out to our fellow content creators there, the Cowboys' own media team, and then all of our content creators. So the likes of Marcus, Brandon, Jay Talk, and all of the other guys there. There's too many of them to read out, but as always, give them a follow. Check out what they're doing on social media. It's great to interact with those people. They give us all the time they can. So make sure and follow them back. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, brilliant guys, every one of them.
Paul, before we go, we'll get you to give Barry another shout out.
Absolutely. So, guys, if you are planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, now that if you're especially if you're from the UK, you can now travel from November onwards. Be sure to go and check out cowboysexperience.com for the ultimate meet and greet, tailgating, and game day package experiences where you get to meet former Dallas Cowboy players, former cheerleaders, and the chance to win so many prizes within the meet and greets and meet some Cowboys legends like Sir Drew Pearson and many more. So, but to get a part of that, be sure to use the code UK Cowboys, because if you use the code you will get free stuff. That's it.
Before we do go, DJ Dog topped himself with this comment.
Yeah, play spy. Yeah, means taking him off defensive end.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I like it.
So as always, folks, Mike and the guys will be here on Thursday night at 9 o'clock UK time, 4 on the East Coast, 3 in Texas, and 1 in California.
Yeah.
Make sure and tune in for that. Guys, anything to say before we sign off?
Go Cowboys. Let's beat Philadelphia. That's all I'm saying. Beat Philadelphia, no matter what.
Peace out. Have a safe rest of the week, and we're on the game.
See you next time.
And we'll see you on Thursday, folks. Good night.
Night.